Hello everyone and welcome to my new build for Season 2, Tier 100 Chain Conjuration Infinite Ultimate. Now in the past days, I have worked on such a build because of the popularity my Oculus Chain Conjuration build got in Season 1, and many asked for a variation adapted in Season 2. Sadly, I was waiting for yesterday's patch in the hope they fix Oculus interaction with Metamorph and Flicker or Isu boots, but it is still glitchy. So I end up finishing the build without the unique wand as I value the other interactions a lot more. Though I will post a second planner for the Oculus version 2 that does not use unique boots but legendary with Ghostwalker aspect, so this way Metamorph won't glitch it. Or if any time they fix Oculus interaction with unique boots, then you are good just to play it in this build. Like my previous builds in Season 2, Chain Lightning, Ball Lightning, or Charge Bolts, that you can check on my previous videos, I do keep high emphasis towards defenses. But this time, the build is a monster crowd control. Everything on map is either stun or freeze, and we get very fast stagger boss fights too. So, you are very unlikely to ever be hit. Hence the defenses are slightly lower because no more amulet rolls for DR or glyph. But I still kept proper defenses, capped resistances without bother them gear, and capped armor for penalty. But trust me on this one, you can even add Oculus and Raiment and you survive Tier 100 as everything is just stunned or froze. Sure, I do not recommend build so, but for fans of that combo, yeah, you will be fine. Now to the gear showcase, followed by Vampiric Powers, Skill Tree, and Paragon. On weapon, you want Intelligence and all stats after those two. Grab any damage. Everything is fine as all are additive. Just consider uptime and higher roll of affix. In this build, vulnerable is permanent, but so are stuns or freeze or crowd control, and we have very fast stagger boss fights. As said, Oculus will do fine, just if you play it use legendary boots with Ghostwalker aspect, as currently there is still a glitched interaction with Metamorph and unique boots, or if they ever fix it, grab it inside build. The build as made it is focused around infinite ultimate and buff DPS with conjurations, Hoarfrost and Devouring Blaze, but also a lot of burst from Crackling Energy and Esadora Cameo Amulet. All the skills in the build are level 1 only, and as you have permanent ultimate going, in this shape you need Flicker boots. You can see my gameplay, it is rarely a gap in ultimates, and I do not even use Vampiric Power for cooldown, and miss a cooldown roll on offhand. That is also because I play Overflow Energy for even more ultimate cooldown reduction. If you want to build without so many uniques or without Flicker, please check my pure Chain Lightning build Tier 100 on previous videos. I will also make a second planner in description for build with Oculus and no unique boots, as it will have slightly changes towards more cooldown reductions. Sure, no point to say about the perfect fit of the Harlequin crest, the uber unique Shaco helm for +4 ranks on all skills, as like said all the skills in build are only level 1, and can see in gameplay it is a blast even in Tier 100. I do not want make this season builds with uber uniques, maybe in future seasons when they are more common, but sure they can fit most builds I made. Really value Esadora in this shape. The Crackling generation is over the top. Yes, I still believe the amulet needs a slightly buff and chance to trigger, but man, it is fun and is worth if play infinite ultimate. Is my first and only Esadora build, as in other shapes I do not think is worth over a legendary amulet. The rings you want crit chance, resource generation, lucky hit and maximum life or other additive. And as you can see no mana aspect, it is not need, we permanent sustain from Crackling and Tibol. Like said earlier, I do miss one cooldown reduction affix on offhand. It does not need the chance to slow, neither resource generation if have it on both rings. In the planner you will see all recommended affixes for offhand will be critical chance, cooldown reduction, mana cost and crowd control duration or intelligence. The resistances are fully capped by Paragon when you are high level and glyphs. If you are in the leveling process, sure adjust a bit if it is needed by jewelry. When you reach max level, you can put armor jewelry if you follow my build. The defenses are still very high, and you do have 50% more all damage reduction in fight because of teleport and mana shield passives. To the Vampiric Powers, Metamorph a must in this build shape. Consider if want to keep it level 1 for better mana sustain, as lower periods of Unstoppable can trigger more often to bowl. I do not feel it is needed this trick in any build, but as a side note I had to mention. If you want to play Oculus with legendary boots, replace Domination power for the one reducing your ultimate cooldown. I will make a separate planner for such version too. If they ever fix Oculus interaction with Flicker and Metamorph combo, just play it, as this build doesn't need any change. Next, the skill tree, followed by Paragon Board. The first 2 skill points are irrelevant. They are just to unlock core skills. Frozen Orb for first enchantment. It is an extra uptime of chill and freeze beside Frostburn gloves, and enables like permanent buff of Hoarfrost passive. Plus, combined with Static Surge node and Vampiric Power, the build has no doubt 100% uptime of Vulnerable in any circumstances. As mentioned during video, the build has all the skills only level 1. Yes, it is weird, and is my first ever build made so because it just performs better, so using all other passives to considerably buff DPS and defenses too when we have infinite ultimate. I am not going to make Sorc builds without mandatory defensive passives just to impress viewers with 5% more damage numbers, but they die one-shots to who know what because ignore very valuable defense passives. I will always value a 20% overall defense buff like Mana Shield against a 5 to 10% DPS buff. That is just nonsense play without defense passive skills, and that is why Sorc was always rumored wrongly as being squishy. The build DPS come from so many different skills and ultimate that even if you level 1 up, you won't get more than 5% overall DPS. That is why all skills level 1, they are more valuable buffs in passives. And sure, like said, the Uber helmet fits great, but it is certainly not needed as can see in gameplay. Hydra and Flame Shield are enough to keep great uptime of Devouring Blaze on tough targets. The crit is not like in my previous builds. To the top, we do crit often and more often with Chain Lightning, but not enough to play Firebolt Enchant. Will be a waste such enchant. Our second enchant is Ball Lightning, as it is a build with DPS ultimate and several DPS skills plus Esadora Amulet. And this season Ball surely helps even just as an enchant with the boss fights. Ultimate, it is surely infinite. You can see even in single target full boss fight at first dungeon gameplay. Flicker plus overflow energy and cooldown rolls on gear. You have it back sometimes in big groups during ultimate that you cannot even trigger it. It is grayed out. For who doesn't know Flicker, it is not limited to 10 seconds overall, but on one jump. Can see that during my gameplay. Enchantment Frozen Orb and Ball Lightning. I have tested possibility of Ice Blades instead of both Frozen Orb or Ball Lightning. Yes, it can do just fine. If you up for it, go on. It works and will add extra DPs to Conjuration Mastery buff. Thing is, Blade's most value is that will reduce even more cooldowns, and it is really overkill. I value more chill and DPS from Orb or Ball. Next, the Paragon Board. The resistances are fully capped by Paragon when you are high level and glyphs. If you are in the leveling process, sure, adjust a bit if it is needed by jewelry. When you reach max level, you can put armor jewelry if you follow my build. The defenses are still very high, and you do have 50% more all damage reduction in fight because of teleport and mana shield passives. But this time, as the build shape is a monster crowd control with both permanent stuns from Lightning Spear Swarm and Frostburn gloves plus Frozen Orb Enchant, I do go for control glyph instead of destruction. Also, no more defensive glyph. With such great CC, we rarely get hit. Indirectly, we are more tanky. They cannot fight back. And we still have good defenses, can take hits even if happens. Is just a glyph defense less than previous builds. And no amulet DR rolls as use unique amulet Esadora. Instead of a defensive glyph, I do go for Elementalist this time to cover both resistances, buff and DPS multiplier 15%. As we have all 3 damage types, lightning, frost, and fire. 5 boards only this time, as I value all the legendary nodes and to cap all resistances with no stress on gear. Enchantment Master. This season is worth in specific builds. Our enchantments are both DPS and synergy strong. Static Surge is a must in Chain Lightning skill spender build. Ceaseless Conduit makes crackling more than useful, and the most valued Frigid Fate reaches free overall 22% multiplier because of buffs of non-physical grabbed on the way. If any question about, as some had in previous builds, Frigid Fate multiplier, it is not applied to cold damage only, but to all of your damage. It is just dependent on your cold damage stat, that we buff it because of non-physical nodes and glyphs. Hence, why I do not go for 6 glyphs this time. If want to go for 6 glyphs, it is easy to go to the bottom of the Enchantment Master board and add the Searing Heat board for a Dexterity glyph at a low cost. Even though I have tested it, it is not more optimal, can give up on crackling damage and legendary node of its Ceaseless Conduit, but will hurt you more than what a 6 glyph will bring. Thank you for watching and for your support. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. As always, I will try to answer all when time allows me. In near future, I will start work on fire skills and ice skills builds for tier 100. Also, if you want to see more lightning skills builds, you can check my previous videos, Chain Lightning, Ball Lightning, or Charge Bolts builds made.